Thank you. And Ashok, thank you for those wonderful words. We share all those ideas, so there is no need to repeat them. So all I can say from my side is that I knew Ashish for a very long time. In fact, we started architecture together in 1959. We met first when we were waiting for an interview to be admitted into IIT Kharagpur. So that's when I first met him, and since then we have been friends. And he left IIT Kharagpur after 2 years, went to London, but we kept in touch. And I remember very clearly all those things that Ashok is mentioning about Ashish were apparent even then. In those 2 years at Kharagpur, the amount of things we managed to accomplish was only because of Ashish. And then I recall that when I was in America, he landed up there and he said he wanted to see things. I was in Chicago and he wanted to see things and be sure. And he said, I want to go and see the Farnsworth house, Mies van der Rohe's house. I said, look, that's impossible. It's a private property and she's a crusty old lady. No one can go and see her building. She said, no, we must try. So we drove there and we parked at the side. We could see the house far away in the farm, through the woods. And I said, look, Ashish, be careful. And I believe she's got dogs and all that guarding her place. He said, no, we'll go and see. I come all the way from London. I must go and see it. So we opened the fence. It was barbed wire fence. We opened it, went in, and my heart was beating like hell because God knows what's going to happen, who's going to shoot us, which dog is going to jump at us. And we walked in and went up to the house and spent an hour. And I must have taken the best photographs of the Farnsworth house I've ever taken because there's no one around. And it's a transparent house and we were able to see inside, outside, roamed around. And no dogs, no guns shooting us, nothing. But it was a wonderful experience. But to me, that sort of captured the essence of Ashish because once he set his mind to doing something, he did it. And he faced the consequences afterwards, if there were consequences. A second very similar experience I had was very much later when we were in TVB. He had some friends coming and he said, we must go and see Chandigarh. He wanted to show Chandigarh to his friends. And again, the Operation Blue Star had happened and Chandigarh was all barbed wire and fence, you couldn't do anything. And I said, look, man, we're not able to go in and see it. He said, no, let's go and see it. So we parked the taxi a bit far off and started walking in. And of course, there were policemen and far park. And we kept walking, going in. There were barbed wires. We went in, and these people kept wondering who we were. And I noticed that the guards were from some Tamil regiment. So I used my rusty Tamil as much as possible. That maybe gave us some kind of access. And we walked in. And there it was, an empty plaza full of barbed wire and all that. The High Court was there. The Secretariat building was a bit further away, and the Assembly Hall was there. And we wandered and I had some wonderful photos. We walked up and down and saw everything. And the policemen were just looking at us saying, who the hell are these people? Just walking and doing what they want. They didn't bother us and we didn't bother them, but we had a look. So as I said, that in a way encapsulated to me that if you want to do something, set your mind to do it. And I was privileged to have been part of that because I would never have had the guts to do those things. Perhaps I would never have had guts to start TVB. But there it was, TVB was started and we were all part of it. And that was Ashish. And I can think of Ashish really, I think of what two other people said about him. And I want to just quote it because, in a way, I believe it. This is in 1986, long before TVB. Gautam Bhatia wrote in the Punjabi Baroque in his dedication. In the dedication to Punjabi Baroque, he wrote, this book is dedicated to several people, including to Ashish. He says, to Ashish Ganju and to honesty, whose markings on the face are the etchings of a man who refuses to be disgraced. Amazing, The point is, this was way before, and someone could see that. And we lived with him, we experienced it, and we knew that what he was saying was absolutely right. He was an honest, ethical person. And the other was, I was reading about this Mimar Senan, the 16th century Ottoman architect who used to train a lot of architects, he used to have a lot of apprentices, and used to tell his apprentices that, look, I can teach you many things if you train with me, but the hardest craft is to master is to that to learn to love is the hardest craft to learn. And that I interpret as saying that, I can teach you architecture, I can teach you crafts, I can teach you all that. But to love it, to feel for it is something that is the hardest craft. And in a way, that is what we finally managed to inculcate in TVB. That it was more than teaching you architecture, it was teaching you how to be an ethical, be a moral person. The heart was as important as the head. So in many ways, I would say that even though I knew him so well for so long and we participated in so many projects and all that, he always remained my moral compass. And even I'm not ashamed to say that at all, that even at this age, I always think of him before taking a decision because he was a moral compass. In a similar way, Dr. Nadir was my intellectual compass. Ashok said some kind words that, I read a lot and do all that, but I would say quite frankly that I always passed it through Dr. Nadir until he approved, until he criticized, until he gave his opinions. I could never be satisfied. So, in a way, Dr. Nadir was my intellectual compass, Ashish was my moral compass. And in losing those two people, we have lost, at least I have lost, a very deep connection to the profession and to both of them. So, what gives me hope is when on an event like this, when I see all you people, see all your faces, and remember you people as 18-year-old kids, in school. And now I see some with white hair and some without hair and God knows what. And I am so happy that all this has worked out. And I can give you only one example that I recall from those days. And this was an experience I had with Rajya, Anant Rajya. You had to go for training. And one of your students said that I want to work with Rajya. And so I said, all right. And I gave a note to Rajya and said, look, please, can you accommodate her? And I forgot about it. The training took place. She came back and joined the school again, fine. And 2 or 3 months later, I get a call from Rajya and says, you sent me this student. And for 2 months, I cursed you because I never had a worse apprentice with me. And I said, look, I took her only because of your note. But I'm calling you now to tell you that I've never had a better person working in my office. And that gave me hope. That was what TVB was. That we were trying to make you, not only architects, but thinking people, thinking architects. And this student, I remember her very well. I don't want to take names because, what Ajay said was that it was the worst apprentice I had in my office. But in the end, he did call me up 2 or 3 months later and said, look, I just want to call you to tell you this, that you're doing a wonderful job at TVB and carry on. But of course, that's not the way Council of Architecture saw it or many other people saw it. But today, seeing you people, seeing your faces, it has redeemed it all. And I must say, I'm extremely happy that I have this opportunity to remember Dr. Nadir, my intellectual mentor, and Ashish Ganju, my moral mentor, and see all of you as the products of our dreams. And I see those dreams now being fulfilled. So it's great to be here with you, great to share these thoughts. And I could be telling you hundreds of stories about Ashish and all of that, but this is not the occasion. But I'm glad that you organized it. I'm glad that you have got yourself as a group and you're talking to yourself as a group, because TVB is a culture, and that culture has to be maintained, and you people are maintaining it. So just like I thank Ashish, thank Dr. Nadir, I thank you, our students, for carrying on this culture, and I'm very happy to be a part of this now. Thank you.